Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry for the delay. We were having technology challenges. Uh, This is the Seattle King County COC Board's regular meeting for February 7th, 2024. And why don't we start with a quick roll call of who's here? Alex?
Start with.
Oh,
Hold on, my computer just restarted. Sorry, I just need 2 seconds. Okay, I can start roll call right now. Please say here if you are here. Patricia Sam.
Here.
Tamara Bauman.
Here.
Kenyatta Carol Hillman.
Here.
Lise Castro.
Here.
Jaja Floyd.
Here.
Marvin Petrell.
here.
Antoinette Lambert. Dorsal Plants.
Here.
Ruby Romero.
Here.
Martha Sassarosi.
This is Kate Speltz here in lieu of Martha Sassarosi.
Oh, and Kate Speltz is here, filling in for Martha.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
Christina Sawicki. Sherry Tillman.
It looks like Christy might be in the attendees.
Okay. Marvin, can you move?
Can I move?
Move
Attend.
attendees?
Yep.
Move Christina over. Oh, you don't have the ability. Alon, can you please move Christina over to panelist, and I will mark her as present. Sherry Tillman. Galena White.
Present.
Okay, with 10 members present, we do have quorum. And we can move on to the land acknowledgement and the theory of change. Marvin?
Thank you. Yes. Does anyone want to do a land acknowledgement for us to lead off today? I always want to make sure that we're grounded in our work on land that did not belong to us. I always want to acknowledge the ancestral elders that have guided us to this space for this work. I'd like to acknowledge the Duwamish tribe for the city of Seattle sits and operates on its traditional lands, and the coastal Sahelish people, where our county's work extends across the breadth of. We often say that no good work gets done until we acknowledge where we are starting from. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. And I'm going to take over. This is Jaja Floyd, the co-chair with Marvin, and I'd like to read the theory of change for King County Regional Homeless Authority. If we create a homelessness response system that centers the voices of people with lived experience of homelessness, then we can focus on responding to the needs and eliminating inequities to end homelessness. Namely, use the people who are closest to the problem to help solve the solution, to bring about the solution. Thank you. Back to you, Marvin.
Thank you. As we are establishing a practice as of January of 2024, we want to acknowledge all of the homeless deaths that have taken place in our continuum at this meeting. It should be the urgency in which we move in, and should always be part of our deliberations for acknowledging where we are and where we need to go to prevent future deaths. So today's meeting, did everyone get an agenda? Okay. Our notes, minutes from last week were sent. Are there any corrections, adjustments, or edits? Otherwise, I'll be looking for a motion to accept them.
I motion that we accept the minutes as stated.
Just a point of clarification, sorry to jump in. The minutes are still being finalized, and this is on me to finish. This is Alon Gutierrez, he, him, his, one of 2 Deputy Chief Program Officers at KCRHA. I will be sending these minutes out to the board ASAP, and we'll need to approve them at the subsequent COC board meeting. And I'm extremely appreciative of the board's patience and grace, as well as members of the public who have joined us. I am unfortunately just returning from vacation and was not able to tackle my to-do list in the 4 days that I have been back. So thank you all so much for your patience.
Thank you, Alon. We'll look forward to those minutes. That brings us to our public comment portion of the meeting. I would like to acknowledge that the Continuum of Care Board public comment does remain open throughout our meeting. If there are questions, please put them in the chat, and I will take this time to ensure that the chat is enabled so that we can be responsive to our community as best as possible. So at this time, we'll open up public comment. Do we have any hands or folks who wish to speak? We have one in person. So I'd like to acknowledge Jade.
Hi, thank you. I just want to make sure I can folks hear me? Okay, I see your head nod, Ruby. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, board members. My name's Jade, and I'm a member of the Lived Experience Coalition, the King County Continuum of Care, and the King County Healthcare for the Homeless Network Community Advisory Group. Since it's February, and because Black History is every day, I urge you to consider working with the Implementation Board and governance committees so that those oversight bodies will adopt a labor acknowledgement that highlights the fact that this country was built on the shoulders of Black folks, that reparations are still long overdue, and that true justice cannot be achieved until those debts are paid. That truth is just as vital to ground ourselves in at the start of every board meeting every month, as is our land acknowledgement. Also, as a member of the COC and King County resident, I am deeply concerned that some of the key members of the Implementation Board, those with lived experience, were only given a 24-hour notice to attend a meeting to decide on the recommendation for the interim RHA CEO position. As a reminder, the point in time count was happening that week, and many of those board members were actively working that pit count, meaning it was a 24-hour notice was frail and lazy at best to include lived experience in an extremely important decision-making process. I also find it problematic that the COC board members weren't included in the process when HUD has designated that body as vital to this work. Further, the RHA dropped their press release email announcing the recommendation for CEO the day before the quote collective board meeting, which is deeply problematic to say the least. Once again, we are witness to those power lording over the RHA making a concerted effort to violate the theory of change. Please use your positions of influence to speak on this issue and do whatever you can to hold those who are guilty of these violations accountable. HUD grants the COC a special set of responsibilities and protections for a reason. This board and membership is a full spectrum of process and change makers. Together, we can correct the current bad faith pattern set by those enforcing the status quo by bringing balance back to the power structure of the RHA. The theory of change was mindfully and skillfully developed with a true vision of life-saving change at the forefront, yet it has been perverted into another regurgitation of inequitable practices that harm our people. I hope as this year progresses, the COC can further unite and organize common sense, foolproof solutions so that these government agents and politicians cannot ignore. We are the experts in this work, and it's time for us to rise up in a collective show of skillful force. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Up next, Katie. We'll come back to Katie. Up next is Michelle Eastman. Michelle, you're on mute. Michelle?
Are people having trouble? Are they not able to speak? Let's see, can I? Well, that's not me.
Ruby, can you come off mute and so I can hear, see if I can hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
In the Q&A, it says that Michelle is unable to unmute herself. It says, I have not received an invitation to unmute.
I'm not
Michelle
receiving
says she hasn't
invitation to-
received an invitation to unmute. Okay, we got it. Let's see.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. So that was probably the same case with Katie then. I believe
There we
was
go.
the name.
And then Katie. Yeah.
I just gave permission to speak.
Michelle, we just sent permission to speak. Could you give it a try?
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So hello, my name is Michelle Eastman. I am the Director of Communications for the Lived Experience Coalition. And I urge you today to further involve lived experience in the procurement process or new procurement process, as people with lived experience are the most impacted. And I also ask during the next round of re-procurement that the board get to review it earlier. At the KCRHA bring the attention to the process to the board ahead of time so that all of the lived experience members on board can review it. I also encourage you to expand severe weather shelter and to continue efforts with that so that all areas of King County can have adequate access to shelter during cold weather. Thank you. That's all I have to say today.
Thank you, Michelle. Up next, Katie. Can we?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Hi, I'm bringing forward some questions on behalf of the Services Not Sweeps Coalition. We acknowledge that answers to these questions may not happen right away, and we're wondering if you could kindly point us for the appropriate person in the KCRHA to contact for these questions. I'll drop my email in the chat if it ends up being disabled. So our first question is, what is the current severe weather protocol process for the city from A to Z? 2, how does the KCRHA utilize their wide network of providers and disseminate information related to weather emergencies? 3.
Katie, excuse me, Katie, it's really difficult to hear you.
Oh, okay.
And so I was just wondering, it's probably on our end, but if you could speak up just a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, because we want to get all that good information you're giving us.
Thank you. Is this better?
Yes, so much better. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the second question was, how does the KCRHA utilize their wide network of providers and disseminate information related to weather emergencies? 3, who is responsible for providing notification for the public? This includes disseminating information to people outside social media and website posts, notifications at the locations included in the alert, and communications to service providers and other agencies. 3A, how many KCRHA employees are tasked with monitoring the weather, and how do they go about activating the extreme weather rollout? Who makes the call? How often does the team review the weather? 3B, can the website and social media process be shared or formalized? 4, can we utilize city buildings as extreme weather shelters, such as community centers like Meadowbrook Community Center and the Red Doors of City Hall? 5, what is the policy regarding severe weather coinciding with scheduled bookings at severe weather locations, such as Exhibition Hall? 6, can KCRHA publish the protocol for authorizing and registering an extreme weather shelter? 6A, what incentives exist or could be considered to put in place? 6B, such as overtime, training support, material support, financial support. And I'll just say my group email, the services not sweeps coalition @gmail.com. We would love to follow up to these questions and to continue the conversation. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that was services not sweeps @gmail.com. Right?
Yeah, services not sweeps coalition
Coalition.
@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Katie.
Thanks, Marvin.
Katie, this is Jaja. I was wondering if you wrote down those different points, because at the end they became a little muffled. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sending them to us or put them in the chat.
I would love to.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
The chat is disabled. Can you provide me with a good email to send these over to?
Yeah, I will give you my email. It's alex.pfiffner@kcrha.org. Thank you, and I'll make sure I get those in the minutes, and we'll get you an answer to those questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Was PF, is that just like your name, basically? PSIFFNER.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other hands in the chat, or are there any other hands? So that is just, okay. And we will continue to monitor chat throughout the meeting. So if folks do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat.
Oh, update from Ruby.
The Q&A can be used kind of like a comment function, if people didn't know that.
If you need to put something in the chat and the chat's not available.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 things in Q&A right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Ruby, if you'd like to start with the point in time count update.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Marvin. So we just finished the PI, or the point in time count, or otherwise known as the PIT count. We successfully collected over 1,350 surveys. And so that is going to be more precise once we are done doing the data cleanup, and which would include the review for duplications or deduplication. After the data is cleaned up, we will be able to move towards the analysis portion. One important note is that this is double the number of surveys we collected and used in 2022 unsheltered count. So that means we got a high quality estimate from that. And so we should expect an even better estimate from this one with more numbers, with more surveys taken. The doubling in survey doesn't mean that there will be, doesn't mean the count will necessarily be higher. It just means that our estimate will be more accurate. We do not know what level of data we will be able to get by subregion yet. So we don't have any particular data sets on any one particular region. The increased number of surveys across the county may allow for greater detail than we were able to get in 2022, but we can't guarantee that at this time. We will also work toward initial report that has been, or I'm sorry, we will work toward an initial report that has all of the HUD required data by the time we have to submit the PIT and the housing inventory count, or HIC, to HUD. And we expect that that submission deadline will be at the end of April. So there's been a few things in the media about the point in time count. And so we just wanted to note that the Seattle Times published an article today. And our approach is getting the right attention to show that the point in time count can be done differently. And more importantly, that the count has never produced the investments necessary to end homelessness or unsheltered homelessness. We did also hear from volunteers who worked on the point in time count is that they learned a lot from their colleagues that had lived experience, and that they enjoyed the experience learning from them. So that's important to me, to hear that the education is going out to the community and we're building bonds there. The other thing is that with that doubled amount of surveys, it could mean that, or the surveys completed, that it could mean we chose the right locations for these hubs, or at least closer to what we were in 2022. So that's a success, I think. And there's more to come soon as we dive into the data over the next month or so. You know, me personally, I'm excited to hear about the outcomes of Vashon and Burien hubs, and also curious how our rural hubs panned out. I'm excited to see that, and also how the family intake line went. I'm excited to hear about that. Really is going to be interesting. But lastly, I wanted to thank everyone who did participate and supported this year. We had over 130 volunteers, and that means nearly 1,800 hours in total. So that's a lot of time. Thank you guys. And that's across the county at 17 locations. This was a huge lift in our community, stepped in to support this different method. And thank you, and thank you. So we're really excited, especially you, Jaja. We had volunteers that included members of the community, local government officials in King County, and partners from HUD, including our very own board member and co-chair, Jaja Floyd. So I wanted to give her a second, if she wanted to tell us a little bit about her experience doing the HUD point in time count this year as opposed to other years. But otherwise, that is the point in time count update. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you, Ruby. That was a great segue into what I have to say about the point in time count. I did do the very first point in time count, and it was the first one that was stood up, and the methodology was still the same. This time, I think the difference is exactly what you said, Ruby, is that the different hubs and the locations, and also the coupon listed the different hubs on it, so it made it very easy for people living unsheltered to make it to the one closest to them. I thought that was a very good positive. I really rooted for that. And although I never had to use the language line, it was available. I mean, someone did step up and we thought we had to use it, but yeah, and I thought that was a great thing. The location I was at was in Auburn, and I just want to give shout outs to the Arcadia YMCA Young Adult Shelter. The staff there was absolutely fabulous hosts and hostesses, you know, and it was a wonderful place to work at. So yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed the point in time count. I enjoyed the people who came there, you know, and the great thing about that was that I got an opportunity to survey one gentleman who was in like vehicle residency. So the next day I had a whole slew of vehicle residents, you know, coming in. So that was, yeah, that was great. So those C's went out. Anyway, that's what I got to say. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share that with you.
Are there other questions for Jaja or Ruby? Dorsal.
You kind of touched on this, so it might be too early to ask, but I was just wondering if there was a general sense of how the phone survey option went, and if it at least seems like that might be something that can grow and expand moving forward.
Yeah, I think I do have Daniel on the call as well. He can go a little bit more in depth on that, but I believe what I heard was preliminarily, whatever the word is, it looks like it was a successful route for the families. I believe we got a good amount of respondents. So Daniel, did you have any more specifics on that?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that was one of the more innovative pieces this year is using that family phone line. What we learned from the previous point in time count is that families just have different challenges when it comes with kids and larger household size to get to these hubs. So being able to stage that site and have that there as an option was really beneficial. We won't have the exact numbers for that until a little bit later after we do the cleanup for that. So if any other KCRHA staff has taken notes, if you could remind me of that so I can get back to you on that dorsal. Volunteer experience wise, I got good feedback, especially from an individual named Ben who said it was very adaptive. So having to do that and then in real time adjust for the needs of the participants was really encouraged to see that. And I want to say a special thank you to all volunteers and for Barbara on the community impact team who really led that effort this year. I hope that answers that question.
Hi, Daniel. Could you briefly tell folks what you do for us or at KCRJ?
Yeah, sorry, a little slow there on the intro. Daniel Ramos, KCRHA. I'm with the community impact team. I'm the data asset manager. My world is pretty much wrapped up in anything HMIS and federal compliance with our homeless management information system. I identify as Chicano and he, him.
Yeah, and Daniel's been working with us on the SPC pretty regularly at the System Performance Committee. So we're glad to have him. He's been a big help.
Thank you. Michelle Eastman.
I think it's still up from the last time.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry, it was still up from last time.
No worries. Seeing no further questions, moving on our agenda, KCRHA updates. Normally, I believe they are given to us by Alon Gutierrez. However, I was looking and I'm asking because I can't see everybody. Tony Machacha, are you present?
Through the chair, co-chair Futrell, I believe that there was a typo on that, and you are absolutely right. I am giving the KCRHA updates for today.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you everybody, board members and members of the public and our nonprofit partners who are with us today. Thank you all so much for making the time to join our COC board meeting for the month of February 2024. I just have a couple quick updates that I wanted to share for the good of the group, and just really in the spirit of communicating what KCRHA is up to right now. I'm really sorry. Somebody's trying to call me into a meeting and I'm in this meeting. Thanks for your patience. Really wanting to ensure that we are providing just as much information as possible about what's happening at KCRHA, just in the spirit of transparency. So I just want to talk about 3 things today. So first up, KCRHA has been laser focused on our fiscal year 2024 contract amendments for our nonprofit partners that we fund. For those of you who have been around and connected to the Seattle King County COC, you may be aware that in 2023, there were significant delays in the execution of our fiscal year 2023 contracts. I wasn't here, so I'm just sharing, like, just want to make sure that if anybody is sort of newly arriving, that did happen. And so this year I'm really excited to share that we have been really focused on turning the page on what happened last year and making sure that we have our 2024 contracts executed on time. And so what I want to share on that piece is we have over 90% of our FY 2024 contracts fully executed, meaning that there is a signed and executed contract between KCRHA and our nonprofit partners. We have a tranche of grants that are in DocuSign. So all we need to do is just have those contracts signed. And then there's 7% of our contracts left that we're just working out the final details with our partners. So I think that my understanding is in 2023, the contracts were still being executed in like June or July or maybe later. And so we are pushing to have everything done by the end of this week. And it's been a really amazing push in partnership with our nonprofit partners. And we're very grateful for how quickly everybody has been working. So thank you to all of our nonprofit partners who I see in the attendee list who have been such great partners to us in moving this work forward. It's been a really exciting win to turn the page. The next update that I wanted to share with everybody is that we are also working on program monitoring. So again, huge thanks and shout out to our nonprofit partners. We have just gotten through the amendments to the contracts and then have just immediately pivoted with many of the same providers to enter into our program monitoring process, where we are monitoring over 80 contracts. And what I will say about this is that we approach program monitoring from a place of support and curiosity and partnership. And I know from my experience being a nonprofit provider and working in other government entities, that monitoring can feel just intense and scary. And so we're just really excited to learn more about our programs, the programs that we fund and which our amazing partners implement, and providing support and feedback to them about how things are going and ensuring that we close out any concerns or findings that result from that. So for any of our nonprofit partners who are present, I just want to really assure you that I have been orchestrating my team around ensuring that this process is as supportive as possible. I welcome your feedback directly to me and or to any member of our staff about how things are going. And I just want you to know that, like, it's an important and key function of a government organization. And so we have to do this and we want to do this, and it's all about supporting you all. And we'll get through it. And then finally, I am very much looking forward to, at our next meeting, having a really detailed presentation about the fiscal year 2023 Continuum of Care Awards, which were very recently announced and which we're analyzing. And it's looking like across the board, we are looking forward to sharing exciting updates. I don't want to go into the minutia because we're still completing our analysis, and I want to be very pointed and specific. But my takeaway is that all of the hard work that has gone into that process during the Continuum of Care NOFO in 2023 has been really positive, and I look forward to sharing more updates soon. And with that, that concludes my updates for this afternoon. And thank you all so much again for making the time to be here and taking time out of your very busy days to connect with the Continuum of Care Board.
Thanks, Alon. I had one question. How does, we heard 2 months back about a re-procurement process that's going on and the alignment with the 5-year plan. Could we hear more about that next month? Or so,
Absolutely.
as it's being stood up? Okay, thanks.
Dorsal?
Dorsal?
Yes, and understand if this might still be being figured out, but one, I wanted to confirm something I heard, which is that KCRHA has been asked to make budget cuts. And then my follow-on question to that, is there any idea yet or any understanding how that might impact program and services that are currently being offered?
Thank you so much for your question, Dorsal. And as it relates to the budget cuts, I don't have information that I could share now. I'm still like sort of getting briefed and caught up to speed. What I can commit to is sharing an update on this at the next meeting. Just candidly, you know, I was in internal meetings with one of my teams today asking the same questions. Like, so I'm trying to get caught up to speed. I am very sorry that I don't have information to share immediately, but I will have an update next month, if that's okay. And I really don't love not being able to provide a responsive answer, and appreciate your patience with me.
Okay, Tamara?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if, and this might be another difficult question, but I just wanted to know what the process was for recommending and approving to move forward to the governing committee, the interim CEO. I find it deeply problematic that both the implementation board and governing committee are making decisions unilaterally without consulting with the COC board and the membership. And I just want to make it clear that this is a collaborative. No one entity should have the power to make changes without the buy-in of all the people involved in creating policy change and creating like more equitable systems throughout Seattle King County. And so my ask then would be to call them out. I want to speak with them about this decision-making process, because again, lived experience is being pushed aside and devalued. And this is exactly what we need to push back for. To really see change, you have to lead with lived experience. I guess that's all I have to say, but thank you.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. And I have noted your feedback and questions as part of the request for further information surrounding budget cuts, re-procurement, and the interim CEO item that you raised. So I just want to say out loud, for the good of the group, that I have documented the requests.
Thank you. Ruby?
Yeah, hi. To kind of build on Tamara's question, I was curious if there was any updates on us presenting or talking with the governing committee again, or when we were planning on possibly setting that up or scheduling that, because I think that would be a good platform to kind of communicate that we've because I believe you guys went and spoke with them and they did okay having meetings with us. So I'm just curious if we can get those set up.
Thank you, Ruby. And thank you to Jaja and Marvin who presented to the GC recently. And I think that my recommendation is that we can troubleshoot unless the COC board would like those discussions to occur in a public setting, then absolutely we can add that to the next meeting agenda. But I think that what we could do is kind of sidebar through our existing weekly COC board planning meetings to align on the strategy and the COC board's strategy and sort of desires around the next presentation and when that should happen. And then I will defer to the board, COC board, as to whether the COC board would like to make those decisions in our weekly planning meetings, or if the COC board would like to have those discussions at the March 2024 COC board meeting.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to ask or highlight? Okay, well, yes, Jay.
I was just gonna say thank you, Board Member Bowman, Tamara, for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. And you too, Ruby. And Alon, all of you, thank you.
All right, so moving along on our agenda, up next, Alon, you're still on deck. Severe weather updates.
Thank you so much, Co-Chair Futrell. Just noting that there was an error in the agenda, and I was supposed to be giving I gave the KCRHA update, and then Tony Machacha, our community capacity manager, is giving the severe weather update. Tony Machacha is out of the office unexpectedly today, and so I'm afraid that I do not have, or I'm sorry, he's at he's out of the office today, and so he's not here. And for the good of the group, what I will share for the sake of transparency is that many of you know that I was previously the KCRHA severe weather lead during the first 3 months or so of my tenure at KCRHA, from August through I'm having to count the months, November, December-ish, and then we transferred that lead role back to Tony. And so I unfortunately do not have the depth of situational awareness to pinch hit. And so it is absolutely pressing that we provide an additional severe weather update. I would be remiss to not acknowledge the numerous and salient questions that were shared during the public comment today, and which we are committed to responding to. And so it is, I think we're really planning our next month's agenda here right now, but having a comprehensive update about the status of severe weather response, and weaving in the responses to those questions that we received, as well as responding directly to the Services Not Sweeps Coalition.
Talking while muted again. Thank you. Dorsal?
Yes, I love the idea of bringing some of the questions that the Stop the Sweeps Coalition asked to the next meeting. The only thing I would want to uplift is ensuring that we are talking about county-wide severe weather responses, and maybe some of the challenges other parts of the county have in responding versus Seattle, which has a lot more of the resources.
Thank you so much, Dorsal. absolutely right that and just to share for transparency, we are centrally concerned about ensuring that our severe weather response, is cross-cutting across the entire King County and not just a Seattle focus. And so we will definitely incorporate that as part of our updates. And thank you again for highlighting that.
Oh, thank you, Jaja. Hello, Jade here again. CSC member. I just wanted to offer some clarification or some clarity to help with what Dorsey you just said. The Services Not Sweeps Coalition is a separate organization and entity than Services Not Sweeps. Then Stop the Sweeps, which is a mutual aid group. The coalition is made up of organizations. I'll give an example. One of them is Seattle, and others that do work. Let's see, Share Wheel. The coalition is comprised of orgs that do work across the county. And then I will offer that although Stop the Sweeps is really focused on Seattle area, they do also provide a decent amount of support across the county as well. So I just wanted to offer that because I'm part of the coalition myself. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Jade.
Thank you, Jade.
Thank you, dear.
Well, is there anything else on this piece? And I'm unmuted. That's nice.
Well, let's see no other hands. I believe, Marvin, we can move on to the next agenda.
Yes. Up next is our System Performance Committee updates. I'll hand this over to the board co-chairs of that committee, to board member, and I just want to give this one right. Board members Bauman and Romero.
Do you want to here? I'll start with my well-being thing because it'll be a shorter presentation, I think. So starting at the next SPC, the public meeting, we'll be talking about developing new metrics or expanding on the existing metrics, that how we measure success in the homeless response system. And we're going to be tailoring those metrics based on the five domains of well-being from Full Frame Initiative. And so those metrics will be developed and hopefully implemented, and certainly created by lived experience and certainly implemented and evaluated by lived experience. And so if anybody has, if I recommend going to the Full Frame Initiative website, looking around, and if you'd like, I can send you some videos, some documents, just let me know and I can forward you anything. I have a really good relationship with them, and it's, I think, the perfect vehicle for systems change by reorienting, again, the system that pathologizes and blames folks for experiencing hardship, for experiencing poverty and racism, or poverty and homelessness, which we all know is rooted in structural racism. So yeah, the goal is to change the system through reorientation towards well-being and how we can be creating healthier communities through that lens. And it must be trauma-informed / healing-centered engagement oriented, because as much as I can be loud and vocal and animated, all the work that we have to do should be rooted in love and compassion and empathy. And so we need to balance our passion with our empathy to create systems change for everyone. Ending homelessness benefits everyone. And so that's the message I'm hoping will be conveyed to the public as we start developing these metrics that are, again, rooted in the universal drive for safety, stability, social connectedness, mastery, having influence over the outcomes of your efforts. And what was the last one? I'm blanking. But anyways, like those are the core components of how we'll be developing those metrics. And I'll pass that off to Ruby now.
Yeah, thanks, Tamara. I appreciate that. Yeah, the well-being is going to be our focus, putting that into the community metrics. So we do have the 6 HUD metrics that we still have to like stay close to or implement. And those are going to be like the lengths of stay and like time between getting into housing and homelessness and various things like that. But I'm really excited to start working on this. I know Tamara's been wanting to do it for a while, so we're going to start digging in on that. Other than that, we're going to just be voting on our work plan next month or this month. So we don't have too much on the agenda other than just working on the stuff that we would like to see completed by the end of the year. So, and that would be the metrics. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but thank you guys.
Thank you, Ruby.
And the next System Performance Committee meeting is?
Well, that's a good point. Thank you so much, Marvin. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 21st at 2 to 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We'll hope to see you there.
What was it?
Yes. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, I'm not seeing hands, so feel free to stop if you do think of something. I'm going to push us on in the agenda. Up next is the Crosscutting Workgroup discussion on decriminalization sweeps and next steps for setting up the work group at Board Member Romero.
Hello again. So this is this is my baby right here. This is the Crosscutting Policy Standing Work Group. And so I wanted to introduce it to people today. Maybe I can share. I don't know if somebody has possibly the scope of work that they could pull up, but I doubt it. Anyway, that should have been me. So what I'm trying to do is I think that this is where the section of criminalization and decriminalizing homelessness would come into play under the COC board. So I think that I've heard a lot of comments about making sure that we stay within our scope of work as the COC board. So I didn't want to, I wanted to make a new location for us to have these discussions and kind of work on a high level on changing the policy in our county. And so I'm just going to read the scope of work that I drafted, and hoping to open the floor and discuss if people are interested in, joining. And I think that what it takes to stand this up, we'll go through the guidelines right here, but we just need them to be a part of the COC membership. So they just have to sign up for that. And then we can, obviously that would be the main requirement. So work groups are structured to ensure a system level focus rather than just a COC specific focus. This work group is formed to develop recommendations or share practices regarding interventions, challenges, or policy issues. And then it goes on to talk about the chair being the director of the appropriate office of the regional authority. And so that's something we do have to work out, is figure out exactly who that would be. It includes representation from groups serving populations such as veterans, domestic violence survivors, families, youth, unsheltered persons, etc. And this committee may exceed the 12-person standard. So that's a good news that means that we can involve more people in the process. The Crosscutting Policy Workgroup reports to the KCRHA's Continuum of Care Board on a quarterly basis and follows all the program rules in 24 CFR 578. So the time frame of this work group would be a standing work group. So it's as long as we would like it to be. And the work groups, like I mentioned, just need to be a member of the COC board or the COC membership. and it can involve board members, KCRHA staff, and relevant COC members. So I did make a suggested list of who I would like to see involved. I said 2 to 4 COC board members because we can't have more than 6. And then we have 1 KCRHA communications team member or admin staff member. And I would like to see some of our implementation board and governing committee members participate if they are willing, because I feel like we have a lot of good resources on both of those boards that could benefit from interacting with the COC board on a higher level. And we could also have a youth action board member, government official out, like maybe at the state level, maybe not them, but maybe their clerks, 2 representatives of the COC partner organizations, lived experience coalition member, human trafficking and sex worker advocate, and wanted to include the LGBTQIA 2 Spirit+ representatives and advocates. We also would like to include 1 living experience and 1 lived experience that's not LEC, affiliated or whatever. I just try to make sure that we're as inclusive as possible, and didn't want to make anyone feel like they couldn't apply. So this is something that I feel really strongly about, as you probably know, the criminalization of homelessness. And I would like to see that change if nothing else. I'd like to see that change a little bit. And I would love for anybody who's interested to reach out to me, and let's get this baby started. And if anybody has any questions, thanks.
Ruby, I have my hand up. I was wondering, when you said other people with lived experience, you mean that like the mutual aid workers and other organizations?
Yeah, I mean, basically like other organizations, or maybe if somebody who is just getting into the advocacy portion and hasn't quite like stretched their legs in the networking source yet. So maybe haven't come in contact with like specific people or roles, just wanted to open the door and make them feel welcome to apply.
Thank you.
Just one other clarification about lived experience.
Yeah.
Many times the doorway, that does not open the door far enough for folks experiencing homelessness to be actively involved in the policy making and decisions that they are feeling the impact of. So sometimes I look at it not as the difference is, one is folks experiencing homelessness at this time. The other are folks with lived experience. The 2 are not the same. Both groups bring powerful advocacy to the work. Shortens the distance between intent and impact.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that, Marvin. Yeah, I definitely want to include anyone with living experience, because they're going to have a closer understanding of what it feels like to be criminalized, or what is going on in the community. Like I said, I've only seen on a surface level what really is going on within the criminalization right now on like 3rd, for instance, but it's, you know, I'm just going to speak to it. I think it's ridiculous that the cops are standing on one side of Ross, and the other side of Ross is exactly what they're just, you know, sweeping around the corner at this point. And there's been people that have died right around the corner from the cops standing in front of Ross, and I've heard them use expletives towards these people, and then they lean on people's buildings. That is not their property. It's just loitering. How dare they? So parking on our sidewalks, and you know, this is during Christmas time. This wasn't like too far ago, but it's really getting interesting out there, to say the least. And I just, if anybody wants to know what it feels like to be criminalized, just go look down in front of Ross on 3rd and Pike, and you'll see the disparity of one side versus the other. So the presence of them isn't doing anything except for insulting people to their face. So I wanted to speak to that. Thank you guys for listening to my TED talk there, but that's what I really want to focus on. That's what this is going to be focusing on. And so living experience, please, you know, come. We want to give that stage to them for sure. So thank you for listening. And Tamara?
Yeah, I also wanted to remind folks about the Supreme Court agreeing to listen to the Grants Pass case. And I'm already freaking out about that, considering who sits on the Supreme Court. And already we're seeing a massive increase in the criminalization and sweeping of vulnerable people. And that's disturbing to me on so many levels. And so if there's a way we can rally our community, do protesting marches, whatever we need to do, but to let our federal government know that we're not going to just lay down and let that happen without a fight. So I just think this is something we really need to pay attention to and keep track of, because this is something that's happening on a national scale that will certainly have an impact on Seattle King County.
Yes. Thank you for uplifting that, Tamara. I'll just briefly take a moment to focus on that. So the one good thing about this is that it's not the Martin versus Boise case, which is actually setting the precedent for the tent camping bans and stuff like that. So I'm crossing my fingers that even if they overturn this one, then maybe, heaven forbid, right? But what I think what we can do in our local area is request that Ann Davidson take her signature off of that request for appeal, because that's the person that's representing Seattle on that paper. And I feel that shows her community, her constituents, because we did vote her in, I believe, right? I think it's a voting position. So I would like to see her take her name off of that paperwork, even if she doesn't feel that way. I feel Seattle feels that way. So that's one thing that I really would like to focus on. So Tamara, thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
Yes. I just want to say thank you so much, board members Ruby and Tamara, for bringing this forward. I think this is a really powerful opportunity for us to really do some high-level technical work on this that will reflect locally. And I just want to bring maybe some solace to the group. While I agree with everything you just said, Ruby, I want to highlight that we have other locals that are a part of these national cases. Our very own one of our founders of LEC and honorary members, Professor Sarah Rankin of Seattle University. She's a national policy expert, and she's helping write an amicus brief, a part of the Johnson case. And so she's bringing in that local voice there. And we do have some local other legal or other attorneys, some ACLU folks too, that are hyper focused on this right now, and they're constantly preparing for what could and could not happen and what the best responses are going to be, and of course also focused on the current not only the criminalizations outside, but to your point, Ruby, what they're doing within the system, very clearly bullying people like protesters from Stop the Sweeps, right? That whole mistrial, that it was a mistrial, and they refiled and wasted 3 days on it. So we're woefully aware, and I love what you're creating here with this work group, because that'll open up. We have COC membership, and the work that we're doing is really in alignment. And this is going to be powerful. So I'm really grateful, and I'm looking forward to hopefully being a part of the work group. So thank you.
Thank you, Jade. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm excited too. And I wanted to thank you for bringing up Professor Rankin in this. This is great. She's always been doing great work. So I'm excited to see that she's working on this. And the last thing I want to say is just to what Marvin said earlier today about how we got to ground our work in the people that we've lost. And I just want to hold up anybody that has lost anybody this past year in 2023 or even 2024. I personally had 5 friends on that list. So it's been a rough year. It's been a rough year before that, but I want to ground our work in the fact that we all know somebody, and so we need to thank you, Marvin, for always bringing that up.
All done?
Oh wait, no, actually I'm not done. You're right. I have to say this. The next portion would be that next meeting we want to try and take a vote on standing this up. So I'll make sure that the scope of work goes out to everybody, and then we can actually start the work on getting our committee members set in stone and start to stand it up and do the work. So yeah, so please think about this, and if you have any feedback or want to see anything in particular, I have my email available, or you can just reach out to me via email and we can get it sorted out. But I really want to move on to the who should be the KCRHA staff that's involved. That's the next portion that we need. And then just taking this vote in the next month. So thank you.
Next up on the agenda.
We're ready to move forward. All righty, next up on the agenda, well, it reads, what is the COC's role in seating of lived experience on the governing committee and implementation boards? So the very simple answer is the ILA set up the boards to actually seat or confirm recommendations in the following fashion. The COC confirms a recommendation or recommends for confirmation for
Somebody needs to nominate someone for those.
right, that's part of a process, but the board itself, when it takes a decisional vote, it's for, confirming the seats for the governing board. The governing board confirms seats for the implementation board, and the implementation board confirms seats for the continuum of care. Now there are not one now, but 3 processes, but all processes includes a open nomination or application for folks interested in joining the board work, and then a review process. So are there any questions about that? Not hearing any. We have tried now for 2 months to confirm a seat on the governing board by an alternate that was already sitting on the board. That is just raising an alternate to a seated position requires the confirmation process.
And that confirmation process is a formal motion to move that member from the alternate position to the seated position. Then there's a second, and then there's a vote. And then bios go out, or
Which have happened. No.
Which,
well, continue. I'm sorry. I don't know why I stepped in.
Excuse me. Bios go out, and then the board has the information about the person that would like to be seated, and then we can make an informed decision on who to move forward.
So at January's regular meeting, an alternate for the governing committee, Lamont Green, was put forth for an open seat on the lived experience seat on the governing board.
Do you need a motion to be made?
Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to vote on the new seated lived experience seat for the governing committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
I second.
And okay.
But you need to
Lamont Green.
specify.
Well,
You need to specify.
There's no bios that have been set out. Nobody knows anything to make this informed decision about.
Excellent.
So we'll move this to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
we have a special meeting.
We have
Let's have a
time
special
now. This might be a good time just to call an executive session,
Yes.
and we can work, and the board can be made aware.
Yeah.
So
So do
Do
we
we
have to move to executive session? We don't have to make a motion, we can just move to.
We can move to an
executive
executive session.
session. Okay,
Okay, so
so the board will move
So
to
I
an
was going to
executive
have
session?
to ask, yeah. Public to leave.
No, yes, I will take that up. Thank you so much.
We have an attendance list.
Alon has his hand up.
Alon?
Are we still public?
Oh,
If we're
This is
still
a public
public,
meeting, so
okay, so yeah, just wanted to make sure because this is still, we'll continue working on moving especially. So Alon,
Could someone clarify what we're doing what's happening right now? I heard an executive session. I just want to make sure that I understand. I'm following what's happening.
yes, oh, it's very simple. We're going to move to executive session. So we were made aware that bios were not sent out for the person that was recommended. So the board will have an opportunity to learn a bit about the person.
so, yeah, so Alon, we're moving to an executive session so that the board can learn about the candidate that have been put forward. And then before we do that, though, I wanted to acknowledge that Catherine had her hand up.
Okay.
And I think that I'm just wanting to make sure that we're following the process correctly. And the information was shared about the process to make nominations. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we skipped some steps.
I don't think at this point, Catherine, that we're making nominations. I think
We're
just
elevating a
elevating
seat
a
that's
seat.
already been nominated and confirmed as an alternate
As an
on a
alternate.
board.
Yeah.
We're confirming that elevation to a seat.
Yeah, I still don't think that we're
So that
following the process
confusion-
correctly though.
Okay, well,
That's why I got the information from Austin that I shared out. I emailed that information out on the process for the seats on each board, the governing committee and the IB. So
Okay, so
this is, right now is what we wanted to avoid. Our staff and us, we work very closely together. Within the public meeting, if there's something we need to discuss, we will move to an executive session so that we can have that discussion,
Right.
come back and let the public know
Yeah.
what we're doing next.
Correct.
okay, that's why we're moving to executive session.
So I don't know how to do that.
you'd like me to remove everyone from the meeting?
That would mean-
Would,
that would mean she would have to make another. And to move to an executive.
for us to move to
Exactly, so we
another.
can't do that right now, 'cause she's
Can we
not-
pause
she's
it?
not on
I'm muted.
would it be a breakout room? Sorry, Alon has his hand up, but
I can.
Alon?
Yeah, just a couple questions. I'm curious if the co-chairs or whoever has access to the bio has already sent that out to all the members of the board so that they can review the bio, and if this is something, I know that this has been something that's been on the agenda, so I understand that the co-chairs want to proceed with this today, but just want to make sure that the co-chairs dotted I's and crossed T's on sending out the bios to the board members, and that everybody has been prepared for the action today.
Okay, and I understand that, Alon, there is no bio sent out. We were just moving to an executive session to suss this all out instead of doing it in public. That's all. It's not.
So-
It wasn't gonna be a vote because you have to have there's a process and a procedure which allows for the candidate's bio to go out so everyone's informed. And then there's a first, a second, a motion, a motion, a second, and then call for a vote, which we're not doing. We're going to discuss, the candidates, basically. Because in the last session, seemed to be some questions. And so we were just gonna go into an executive session to suss that out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because nothing can be confirmed until we do the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I also
you.
do not believe we can go into an executive.
In order to do that, I would be removing public attendees.
And you can't do that.
So we lack the technical ability to go to an executive session at this time.
Can we do a breakout room?
So the first question is, can we create a space for an executive session at this time with our present technology? Yes, no.
So I can remove people who are not members of the COC.
That would
That's the only way that I could do it. I cannot start.
Yeah, so that would technically be ended.
No.
Okay.
No. So at this point, we cannot go into an executive session because of technology.
Okay, well, that's a
Okay.
confirmation. This next question, Board Member Romero asked if we could create a breakout room. That's a no.
I wouldn't even know ahead of time.
Right.
So I would offer that we start the very next meeting
With this at the top.
with an
of the-
yes, at the very top
Right.
of the meeting.
Would that be before the next governing committee meeting?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
What I can do is create a Teams link and send it out to folks, but it would have to not be on Zoom. It would have to be a separate meeting.
Right. That's it. We like that.
I think that's what we could do.
I'm sorry, who spoke?
Sorry. Ruby.
Okay.
So Marvin, if we do this, so we need to.
Huh?
We're gonna close out the meeting. Let people know that if you would like to do this, we're going to send out a separate Teams link to board members only to have this discussion. That we do close out this public meeting.
Maybe we'll do it before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Or we can do it separate.
Open.
Yes.
This is
Okay.
Christina. You guys need to read
Christina,
the rules in the RCW about when an executive session is allowed to happen. I have forwarded it to Marvin and Jaja so they have it. And reviewing somebody's whatever to get on a committee is not one of our rules allowed per our law unless somebody can make it fit in there.
I've seen the governing committee go into an executive session discussing application for the CEO, I believe. I could be
That's
wrong.
staffing. That's different. This is not
Okay.
staffing.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Sorry. Thank you.
Mhm.
Christina, note taken, will be clear. Once again, this is not the conversation I propose to have in a public space. If as a board, we're going to do something, we should all be knowledgeable about it, what it is we're going to do, and then move forward in our meeting. So if at this moment in time, the position of the chair is just simply to lead off the next public meeting with this piece, and we will give us a month for us to discuss in our planning and other spaces how to execute this. For we are sorely lacking in technology today. Struggle that
You
happens.
can't use an executive session for that. I know Robert's rules and I know what the state law says, but you could use a training for it. It sounds like you're looking more to how to do this and how to set it up and then bring somebody's name in, or are you looking specifically to discuss a person who is not an employee? Because
Well,
you'll get a good fine from the state on that one.
once again, thank you. There's nothing wrong with the information you're sharing. The only employee that we have directly is sitting to my right, Catherine Todd. She's our COC coordinator. There are several other members of the RHA that fulfill specific roles in the execution of our work. I really offer that maybe it is a training and we can look into that. But unless this is how folks would like to use the public's time, we need to either move forward or someone make a motion. Right.
We're making a motion for what? Excuse me?
Well, the chair's position is that we lead off the next meeting with this.
Exactly.
Okay, I make a motion that we take the vote next month at the top of the meeting for Lamont Green. Is that what you're asking for?
That will work.
I'll second that.
All righty. That brings Alex up.
Anything else?
Roll call. We got to approve. I don't need everybody. If that works for Tamara, if that works for folks, everyone say hi.
Yeah, so are we just delaying this due to process?
Oh, well, for two reasons: lack of any technology in which to actually create a breakout space so that we could go into an executive session and do this. And definitely is clear that there's training needed over this.
Okay, man, because yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you. I just hate delaying things, especially when you know the brilliance, but anyways.
Patricia?
Yeah, board member.
Yes.
Yes.
Board member Sam.
I'm not sure where we're at, but I just would like to note that I am unclear. I feel kind of lost to whatever is going on and what we want to approve or, yeah. So I just wait now.
Sorry about that.
Patricia is asking what we were
For clarity. Board member Sam, you're asking for clarity, is my understanding. And what is
I would like clarity, especially if you're getting ready to ask for a vote. I'm not clear. Okay, or a motion to do something.
We
just one second.
I will simply take I will, as a chair, I will state to the group, to the board, that I will put to put this at the beginning of our next meeting. If anyone has any problems with doing that, please let either Jaja or I or the KCRHA staff know so that we can move forward. Thank you. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 6th, 2024. For our board members, as always, it's been great. And we have a training on the 27th in person, where hopefully we will begin developing our work plan for the year and being able to present that at our March meeting. Thanks everyone for attending today. Thank you. Once again, if there are any questions or any other further comments, feel free to let us know and we will respond. Tamara?
Oh, there's a meeting on the 27th? Is that the COC refresher?
Yeah, it's COC Part 3 refresher.
Oh, okay. I just haven't uploaded it to my calendar.
Okay. In person from 9 to 12.
Yes.
There's a beautiful
in person as well. I will send out a calendar invite here.
And they will let us know where.
Thank you, Alex.
In person, right?
Yes. And we did figure out the venue. It's going to be at Seattle Public Library, Central Library. Yep.
Seattle Public Library, central location, right down here in good old Seattle.
That's the one on 4th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Madison and Marion.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Madison.
And we're gonna give you back your time, 25 more minutes. Thank you so much for being with us. And we hope to see you March 6th.
February 27th.
And, well, the board, February 27th, but our membership.
Yeah.
March
In
6th.
person.
For our wonderful attendees, we had a lot of folks today. It was nice.
And thank you so much for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a blessed day.
Close the meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.